This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Thursday, September 16. In Squiz Kids Today, history-making spaceflight, new name for New Zealand, when whales walked the earth, and why it's good to argue. That's what's making news, kid style.
The lowdown.
It's a big day for rocket fans and lovers of space today, as the first spaced tourists in the world prepare for liftoff. All going well, and providing the weather gods are smiling this morning, the SpaceX rocket ship will blast off from a place called Cape Canaveral in the United States, taking with it 4 paying customers. It's kind of like a plane ride or a bus trip, but with zero gravity. It's the first time in the history of space travel that the astronauts in the spaceship are all civilians. What's a civilian? It's an ordinary person like you or me. Normally, astronauts are fighter pilots or specially trained members of the military whose job it is specifically to go into space. On today's flight, however, there'll be a businessman, a professor, an engineer, and a medical specialist. It's being described as the beginning of the space tourism era, which is to say one day in the not-too-distant future, travelling in a rocket ship into space could be as common as it is today to travel on a plane to another country. The 4 citizen astronauts, as they're being called, will spend 3 days in space, spinning around the Earth far above our heads, at an altitude of about 575 kilometres. Altitude is a measurement of how high something is above ground level. And in another piece of history, the captain of this spaceflight is Dr. Sian Proctor, who will become the first black woman to ever pilot a spacecraft. If you look up in the night sky in the next few days and catch a glimpse of the rocket spinning above you, be sure to give it a Squiz Kids salute.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Aotearoa, which is what we'll be officially calling New Zealand if a petition to change the country's name is successful. A petition is when people collect signatures in support of something, then submit that request to authorities. This particular petition collected more than 25,000 signatures in its first day. It was started by the Maori Party. You probably already know this, but the Maori are Indigenous people of New Zealand. They were living there long before Europeans arrived, just like Aboriginal people were in Australia. The Maori Party is asking the New Zealand government to change not only the name of the country, but also the names of certain cities, towns and places back into Te Reo Māori, which is an official language of New Zealand. Their goal is to expose more people to the Maori language and culture. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern hasn't commented on the petition yet, but she said in the past she welcomes people using the name Aotearoa for New Zealand. We'll have to wait and see if it becomes official.
Animal Kingdom.
Whales, gentle giants of the ocean, right? Great lumbering beasts that move with grace in the water, but are stranded when they're out of it. Well, that wasn't always the case, according to Egyptian paleontologists, who have uncovered the remains of a whale that walked the earth some 42 million years ago. With its long snout, 4 legs, sharp teeth and powerful bite, the prehistoric whale walker was a fearsome hunter and would eat pretty much any animal it could chase down and sink its teeth into, on land or in sea. It's believed the ancient whales lived on the edge of the sea, hunting in and around the water. Eventually, though, over a period thought to have been about 10 million years, they moved deeper and deeper into the water and evolved into the swimming-only creatures we know today. I've stuck a link in your episode notes to an artist's impression of the walking whale.
Squiz Kids salutes.
And today we're giving a great big Squiz Kids salute to arguments. Not pull each other's hair out and shout each other down arguments, but thoughtful, reasonable, quiet differences of opinion that lead to discussion and debate. The release of a new book yesterday, arguing in favour of polite arguments, revealed that the Wright brothers, who are widely regarded as the fathers of human flight, which is to say they invented the very first planes that allowed humans to fly, were raised in a household in which arguments at the dinner table were encouraged. The brothers' father would give them a topic each night at dinner and make one brother argue one side of the argument and the other brother argue the other side of the argument. And then he'd make them swap. It's called debating, and maybe you do it at school. And rather than it being about trying to force someone to believe something, it's an exercise in stretching the brain and allowing yourself to be open to new possibilities and new ways of thinking. And that's something, I will argue until I'm blue in the face, that we could all do with more of.
Time for the Squiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What's the name of the brothers who are widely recognised as the fathers of human flight? That's right, it's the Wright brothers. Question number 2. In which country have paleontologists found the remains of a walking whale? Yeah, it's Egypt. Question number 3. A petition has been started in New Zealand to change the country's name to what? You got it, it's Aotearoa.
Shout-outs.
It's September 16. Today is Nick Jonas's birthday. It's also Independence Day in Papua New Guinea, and it's Yom Kippur, an important holiday in the Jewish calendar. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Bo from Hughenden, Lily from Fadden, Hugo from Bulwarra, Neve from Perth, Annabelle from The Rock, Lily from North Strathfield, Finn from Albany Hills, Jackson from New Farm, Lachlan from Lower Mitcham, Olivia from Abbotsford, Mitchell from Geraldton, Cameron from Tyab, and Ella from Hamlin Heights. And belated birthday shout-outs today go to Mickey and Kobe from Five Dock. Plus, because our friends in Melbourne, Canberra and most of New South Wales are in lockdown, we're sending out home learning herograms. And as this is the last week of Term 3 for most of you, we wanted to include as many classroom herograms as possible. So we're going to test run a little lockdown background music. Hit it. And it's a home learning herogram too. Years 5 and 6 and Miss Wade at Trinity Catholic School in Harden. To Stage 2, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith and Mr. Gabb at Beresfield Public School. To all the teachers and students at Bulwarra Public School, and also to the Grade 3 students at St Albans Meadows Primary School. Arthur and Isla would like to thank their teachers Mrs. Wilson, Mrs. Thatcher and Mrs. Arjona at St Bridget's Catholic Primary School in Gwynville. Izzy, Rosie and Ruby send a shout out to all their friends and teachers at Gladesville Public School. And Saxon sends a home learning shout out to his class KW at Fletchington Public School in Orange. Herograms go to Mr. Scott from Spring Terrace Public School, also in Orange, to classes 6E and 6K at Kiama Public School, and to class 4D and Miss Hall at Truganina College in Victoria. Lastly, to Class 5 Melaleuca from Westport Public School in Port Macquarie, who have been patiently waiting all term for their shout-out. Your teacher, Mrs. Moore, is very proud of your hard work during lockdown. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout-out, or if you're after a classroom shout-out or you'd like to send a home learning herogram, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out. Squiz Kids is proudly supported by the Judith Neilson Institute for Journalism and Ideas.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.